What are you drinking, Matt?
Mate, okay, I'm really sorry. This is really uninteresting, but I've gone for good old fashioned English breakfast tea, and it is Yorkshire tea.
Oh,
Just so you know, it
absolute.
is the superior one out of them all.
Do you have sugar?
No, no sugar, just a little bit of milk,
Oh, and a little bit of milk. No
a
sugar and
little
a
bit of
little bit.
milk.
Oh,
Honestly, mate, you
you
give me
are.
milky tea, you need to get out.
Get
Honestly,
in the bin.
get in the bin. I can't take it. No. Yeah, it's like literally, it's like I think they call it a builder's tea, where it's
Yes.
like just literally a
Yeah, like.
dash.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
But
you're
yeah, what are you drinking, buddy?
party. So I have made myself just presenting it to the screen.
Look at that.
An iced coffee, mate. I'm like a bloody barista. Look at
That
me go.
is that's straight out of a cafe, mate. That looks
Oh,
amazing. Oh, I can hear the ice. Oh,
oh.
I got a real kind of feeling for how that tasted, how that felt. That was
That
an
is
experience.
what I love even more is because this is voice only, so this is gonna be like ASMR, mate.
Yeah.
I'm just
I didn't know how I felt about that. I felt a
honest.
little bit aroused. Well, here we are. Here we are. Here we are. It's Iron Man 3 time. This is the third movie of the Tony Stark trilogy. It's the last one. We don't really get an Iron Man 4, do we?
No Iron
No.
Man 4, mate. And we know
We
what
get
happens
plenty of
to.
Tony Stark after this, but like no Iron Man 4. Um,
No.
which is sad because obviously, I don't think we'll ever get an Iron Man 4 again. But
Tragic.
tragic, tragic, tragic. Let's just go straight into it, buddy. Do you know what? I just give it to me. What's the summary of this movie? Let's go.
Plagued with worry and insomnia since saving New York from destruction, Tony Stark now is more dependent on the suits that give him his Iron Man persona, so much so that every aspect of his life is affected, including his relationship with Pepper. After a malevolent enemy known as the Mandarin reduces his personal world to rubble, Tony must rely solely on instinct and ingenuity to avenge his losses and protect the people he loves.
Fucking hell, man.
How ridiculously wordy and overlong is that summary?
That they clearly changed the person who wrote the summaries because
Christ.
that's War and Peace, mate. That's really long.
That is absolutely over the top. Who on earth thought that was...
Do you know what? I'll be honest. I phased out when you said Mandarin.
Yeah. Maybe because we had to reshoot it 3 times, but we won't tell the listeners that. But yes, that is... You don't need to know all of that. Like, this is a summary. Yeah, so I would have just started with the Mandarin. I would have just had that last little bit.
Yeah.
That's it. Don't need to know. Why would I need to worry about, Tony Stark being dependent on his suits?
Wow.
Anyway, that's the
Anyway.
summary. We've taken grievance at the summary, let alone. So, what were your overall thoughts of this film, Matt?
um. Oh, mate. Okay. I enjoyed bits. I think there's more gripes than there are pleasures of the movie for me. Yeah. It like it again. It's just meh. It's meh. I don't know. I remember feeling very meh about it when I watched it the first time. Oh, when did it come out, by the way, buddy? When did it come out? Just contextualize it in my brain.
That's a very good... 2013, May the 3rd, 2013.
2013. where flip was I? May 2013.
Mm.
I think I got my first pro acting job tour that year.
Oh yeah.
And I just finished it, and I just went back home, I think, by that point for a bit. But I do remember being a bit meh about it. The plot seems a bit all over the place, really, and I just kind of, there are some characters I'm like, I just can't get on board with, really. But there are some really good moments. There's some really sweet moments. Yeah.
I completely agree. Where every little word that's just come out of your beautiful little lips, I was going to say that was far too intense. Anyway, yeah, every little thing you've said, I agree with. Except when I first saw it, I remember thinking, "Christ, this is really good." I thoroughly enjoyed it first time I saw it. However, seeing it this time, honest to God, it was like night and day. I loved it the first time, and then this time I thought, what on earth is...
I can't really pinpoint what the issue is, so I'm wondering whether we go through this today, whether we deep dive into Iron Man 3 a little bit more in a moment, and we'll try and figure out what that might be. But if you are listening to us for the first time ever, and you're thinking, who the hell are these two guys? And you're brand new to the Don't Be a Hero podcast, we are Matt and Forrest. We are going through every single MCU movie from date of release, just so you know, just to contextualize that for you as well, from date of release. And we've just started today, phase 2 with Iron Man 3. And yeah, we go through the highlights. We're going to give you the best bits, and we're going to talk about our gripes, our favorite moments, favorite lines, favorite secondary characters we like to talk about as well, and we'll hear from you as we go through. So let's just kick off, mate. There is one amazing moment that happens at the beginning of this movie, just after the voiceover that Iron Man starts with. It's when they go back to 1999, and it's a New Year's Eve party. They're getting ready for 2K. 2000. I remember distinctly when it was New Year's Eve 1999, I was allowed to stay up. I was only 9, and I was hiding behind the back of my parents' sofa because I thought the world was going to end. I literally convinced myself that just everything was going to cease by the time it gets to 12 o'clock, the year 2000. And it obviously didn't happen, thank God. But I remember being really scared.
That's what we think in this universe.
I know that. Oh my God. Yeah, maybe somewhere else it did. But we see... Who do we see, Forrest? Did you miss him?
Many people.
Did you miss him?
Miss who? Which one?
Yinsen.
Yes, Yinsen. I did see Yinsen.
Our favourite man. Harks us back to the very first podcast for us.
He was in the crowd. You see him?
He was there.
Yinsen, and who we get a surname for the first time.
Yes, we do.
We get a surname for Hansen.
Yep, Yinsen Hansen.
Yinsen Hansen. I mean, that's one hell of a name, isn't it? Yeah. Yinsen Hansen. Jesus Christ. Sounds like a member of a band.
Up.
Yeah. Exactly. Yes, we see Yinsen Hansen, who I'm desperately trying to see his gorgeous face on this cast list. It's a no-shower. It was
no shower. That's interesting. But yeah, he so there's a big kind of party that's happening for 2K. We have Iron Man who's talking to a biologist character as well that kind of feeds through, again, starting as we mean to go on. I can't remember her character name. I literally watched the movie about 20 minutes ago, and I cannot remember. He's having a little thing with her and
Maya. You're on about Maya.
Yeah, of course.
Because I've messed up already, mate. We're both. It's not going well. Yinsen's not called Yinsen Hansen. It's Maya Hansen.
Oh my gosh!
I think he's introduced because he's saying hello to Tony and Miss Hansen because it's Ho Yinsen. Yinsen's his surname. It's not even his first.
Oh wow! If this is the first episode you are listening to, I am so sorry. It's not usually like this.
So yes,
Equally,
Indeed.
to be honest, it is a bit of a mess, but that's why it's so endearing for us, I suppose.
There is hell of a lot of characters in this film. I will give it you. Maya Hansen, who Tony Stark's getting a little bit friendly with, or trying to. He's absolutely paralytic, isn't he, at this party?
He is. He's loving life.
And also, it's at this moment where I've got to confess, I watched it again, obviously, and then it is yet again suffers from being an incredibly long film.
It is, isn't it?
Pretty much 2.5 hour film. It is a very long solo superhero.
Doesn't need
film.
to be that long. Doesn't need to be that long. But we do get to see Happy as well. Happy with a bit of a goatee and some long hair. Looks dapper. I love it. Looks so good.
Touches a plant, and
he does.
Which is basically
the whole plot, isn't it?
The whole plot. Which I didn't miss the plant. I got the plant bit. What I missed was the science. So Maya, they look at a little screen and they're talking about how they found something where will ignite the brain into fixing issues with the body, right? Yeah. So we see the brain on a screen and the effect that this has on the brain, and it fixes the rest of the body. And then obviously this plant has it, and Happy touches it. And the next thing we know, it causes it to basically explode, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. And it's what I quite. This is the one thing I enjoy. I say the one thing. It's not the one thing. I'm being harsh. One of the main things I enjoy about this plot is that it kind of reflects quite nicely about what happened really with Tony Stark in terms of the treatment of the government interfering with his tech. Is that this plot defines that there is a real kind of philanthropic kind of means to this kind of regeneration science, based around kind of the means of healing people and then using it for the right causes. And it obviously got into the wrong hands, and it's got into the government's hands as well. And then they find a way to weaponize this as well. So it kind of, there you've got those kind of threads. And I think Potts has a line as well later on in the film where she kind of like, yeah, that's the same thing that happened to Tony. We've been there before. So there is that nice kind of like juxtaposition.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's some, yeah, absolutely. We also have, I've got to say, probably the strangest transition of a character. So Aldrich Killian, Guy Pearce, incredibly, successful actor, great character. I question quite why he had to turn into a beautiful man.
That is literally the second comment I've got on here, mate. Is that in 1999 they make him this kind of like, geek with ailments. He can't really walk very well. They've given this kind of weird like Richard III vibe, and then all of a sudden, when it goes into present day, he's a really strapping, well strung, suited and booted dude. And I know that's probably just to show the fact that he's used this, regenerative dose. He's used the science for his own kind of, means, which I get. But I just think that the way they went so far with the geekiness, with the deliberately making him look, vile. But there wasn't needed.
It's a complete personality change.
Oh, 100%.
It's not just a look. Like it's one thing to give him a new look, but he's exactly the same quirky guy at the beginning. He's a completely different person. He's completely different. I didn't understand that. It introduced nothing. Just so they could do him like mouldy, looking like he's chatting up Pepper. Like it just made it. It didn't contribute anything. Like so, yeah. I didn't really. Definitely, first gripe was, or not even. I don't think it's a gripe. Just a bit confused by it, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, as you say, like it's this form of regeneration that they use, it physically does something, but it doesn't change your personality. So at least it's not meant to. Do you know what I mean? I don't think it's meant to. So that choice was a bit interesting. I just don't know if there was any other way of them doing it, not as extreme as they did. Maybe I don't know. But you know, one thing I noticed as well is that actually Iron Man 3 set during the Christmas period, isn't it?
It is, and we get that straight away with some lovely little Christmas music. First time we see Tony in the present day.
We do, but do you know as well the other MCU movie, third MCU movie that is set around the holiday season? Recently come out.
Oh, are we including TV series? Because obviously Hawkeye.
Hawkeye is, but
Hawkeye, yeah.
Spider-Man is kind of set around the holiday season, isn't it?
Yes.
It definitely finishes at Christmas, doesn't it?
Yes.
At Christmas time. I don't know. Yeah. I'm absolutely reaching here, but I wonder whether that's just done deliberately as another kind of little nod to Tony Stark and just setting trilogies around the holiday period. I don't know.
They certainly like the Christmas holidays.
They do, don't they?
Yes. Yeah, it was a nice element. I one of the things I did note was that it kind of feels like it has the Die Hard effect. It's set at Christmas, but in no way, shape, or form is this a Christmas movie.
100%.
So, it's absolutely the Die Hard effect of like, we'll include songs. There'll be some pretty lights occasionally, which always begs the question, like you say, why do it then? Why set it at, what is the what is the reason for setting it at Christmas? I think, like you say, you could be right. There might be some other things that they want to achieve in the long term, or is it merely timeline? So this is supposed to be 6 to 7 months, I believe, after the events in New York.
Yeah.
So obviously, they've got to think about how the year would be spread out.
Big time. And as we kind of like move on to sort of the first opening of the movie, we see Iron Man in his Malibu house. He's building all these different Iron Man suits. I think it got to a point, there's a little shot when he sees Pepper back home, and I think he's got up to like Mark 42 or something like that. Like it's like he's clearly been massively affected by what happened in New York, and he's kind of showing signs of like PTSD, trauma, anxiety. He's having a real anxiety issue as well in the movie. That's something I quite like. It really, seeing effectively a superhero going through anxiety issues is something that's quite relatable in terms of an audience going, oh my god, that humanizes Iron Man and Tony Stark quite nicely. So I did enjoy that thread. I
think I completely agree. I think I would have liked it with a different superhero. Tony Stark. Maybe. If you go back to the Iron Man and Iron Man 2, so we're already dealing with someone who had shrapnel put in his chest from in the first film. So he was adjusting to the fact that he's, not 100% like human, so to speak, in the first film. Then the second film, he's dying because of what's in his body. And it kind of feels to me like it's kind of like every film he's got another reason to be like. Of course, he'd be dealing with anxiety, and I'm pretty sure he would have been dealing with anxiety when he thought he was dying. So I just feel like actually I would have preferred the mental health aspect to have come via another superhero that we wouldn't expect. Maybe
this is the thing. In the comics, his kind of biggest ailment is his alcoholism, and it is never explored. And I wonder whether that's been done deliberately as a Robert Downey Jr. thing, saying we're not exploring that because that's a bit too close to home.
Yes, and I would 100% say that was the situation, especially and it kind of looks like they semi-explore it. Like, for instance, Iron Man 2, when he's got that party and he's hideously drunk. Beginning of this film, he's that paralytic at the party. So they semi-explore it without ever like hitting it on the head. And I would agree in the sense that I wonder whether RDJ agreed to explore it to a certain extent.
Yeah. So we go into Stark Industries. Potts is still running the place. Now Happy is working for Potts as well. And Potts is Happy is kind of like trying to get everybody to wear lanyards. He put up a sign in the toilet and no one's read the memo. So nobody's doing that. So he's walking around barking orders, and he's received all kinds of complaints. Apparently the complaint system went up by 300% according to Potts, which is all due to Happy's involvement. But we do have Killian Aldrich coming. Is it Aldrich, isn't it?
Aldrich, yep.
Aldrich, yeah. So he comes into Stark Industries to pitch his new kind of tech called Extremis, in where he kind of clips something behind the back of his ear, and you can see this kind of like holographic of his brain in a live feed and a live stream. And then he's talking about effectively this. He tries to tease, doesn't he? The main reason why he's using Extremis to sort of like heal and build as well.
Yes, and we get Happy trying to use an iPad with Tony, and he's facing the wrong way and all sorts of stuff. I feel like they absolutely was a bit of shoehorning Happy in. It was a bit like we've gone from first phase of like little bits of Happy, like there's a reason for him to be like. I feel like he was quite shoehorned into this, and given a majorly big part in that 5 minutes, and you're actually like, okay. I'm like, would we really see? Yeah, would Happy really be such a big figure in Stark Industries? I'm like, I agree. I feel like we could have. I feel like Tony could have found out about Aldrich speaking to Pepper in a completely different way. If you're Tony Stark, right, and this goes back to the first Iron Man film, when you might remember, Matt, we had a big discussion about CCTV cameras.
Yeah.
And I was saying absolutely wouldn't have a CCTV camera in a cave. Well, I would also say, actually, Tony Stark would have 1 million CCTV cameras in Stark Industries. So he would be able to see all of this anyway.
Absolutely. He'd be able to see that. He'd be able to, whether he's threatened by that or not. But like, yeah, totally.
So I was a bit, I was a bit like, okay. All right, we'll get Happy in there. That's
fine. So we kind of move into the Malibu house. We kind of jumped forward a little bit, but like, just to mention about the Malibu house, I flipping love that Malibu house. Obviously, it was first shown in Iron Man 2, but I remember in this movie there was a Lego set of the Malibu house. There was a Lego set, a little kind of like smallish Lego set that you could get, and I remember getting it, and I remember because this was at the time I think I was working at Lego at the time. I remember getting it, and it was one of the first Lego sets I bought for very first time for a long time, and building that with real kind of like, flipping love Iron Man, blah, blah, blah. And I had the mask on and everything and nerding out. And it was, I can't believe I've just mentioned that on a podcast now, because now I'm slightly embarrassed, because I do actually remember doing it and thinking, I'm going to put my Iron Man mask on. I'm going to watch the movies. Such a dork. I was living in Stratford. I was paying through the nose for a room, working room. I've just felt, mate, did you see that? I just fell back into that kind of lifestyle. Like, I was tired.
I felt like I'd just gone for a Marvel flashback just then, mate.
Whoa, I was heavy.
I just encountered them. You shouldn't be ashamed of that, though, mate. That sounds.
Is it lame?
I don't think it's lame. I think it's an incredible feat.
Definitely 23 at the time.
It's all right. Anyone who accomplishes Lego, I think, hats off to you.
I'd put my Lego on the little displays and stuff, and just like, I remember putting it on the shelf next to my bed, amongst others.
Yes.
Please, if you're listening, right, and you've got Lego, please just tell me. Don't make me feel like I'm alone in this. Please, for the love of God.
Oh,
I know
man.
there's adult fans of Lego, but like, that's all right, isn't it? It's fine. It's
Yeah,
fine. It's
Legos.
fine.
I
It's
mean, it's definitely not the weirdest thing you could be interested in. I think we should go straight to the Mandarin's arrival.
I think we should.
So I really like the clips of the Mandarin. So
Yeah.
how we first see it on the film on the TV. I love all of the scenes with the Mandarin on the TV. Absolutely love. I love it. I really like the president thing. I like all of the different clips. I think it's really cool. I think they've tapped in quite interestingly and bravely of Marvel because it's a very on the nose terrorist. You know, this like we're not a million miles, or certainly back then we weren't a million miles away from that type of stuff going on in the world. Maybe people didn't quite have the tools to take over every American TV in America, but certainly the tactics explore within the videos and
Hmm.
Hannah Mandarin. I thought, yep, spot on, really good. Then we meet the Mandarin,
We do.
and
Thoughts?
I don't know. I think I would have preferred Mandarin to have been the villain of the film, and for it to be a little bit more linear. Aldrich, I kind of liked, but I did. It all just felt a bit like a bit overstretched. Too many characters in the film in general, but all the villains seem to be like you got Aldrich, then you got then you had then you had Maya,
Mm.
then you had the Mandarin. It was just too many. Like I want just one solid villain that's really got a lot of like a lot of strength to them. And yeah, I would have preferred the Mandarin to have been actually the Mandarin.
Absolutely agree with you here. I think there were one too many kind of like villain characters. And again, I don't know whether you fall. This is where Iron Man 2 fell off as well. So they've kind of repeated themselves a little bit in this movie. But um, I vividly remember when Ben Kingsley was cast as the Mandarin in this, and the trailer came out, and then you saw the Mandarin within the video package that they presented in the movie. Not as Trevor Slattery. And I thought, oh my God, he's going to be such a good villain. It's going to be brilliant. I thought interesting casting because it's through the origins of what Mandarin is in the MCU is of a different ethnicity, of a different culture, and a different
Mm.
representation. I thought, okay, again, back then, that kind of it was there. I thought about it, but it wasn't. That wasn't the main issue. I don't think they'd be able to get away with it now. I think
No,
that's
no,
what I'm
no.
trying to say. I don't think they'd be able, if they were
Yeah.
to do Iron Man 3 now, it wouldn't be appropriate for them to do something like that. But
No.
equally, I was very excited for Ben Kingsley to be a villain. And when it was revealed that it's not, it's just an actor going under the name of Trevor Slattery, I was like, really? Oh, and I was really annoyed about that first because I was like, there's no, because then all of a sudden the threat is gone in the
Mm.
movie because I thought the main threat was this terrorist, right? But
Yeah.
no, the main threat is this one guy who's got lots of money, who's weaponized a bit of tech. And I'm like, oh, okay. But we literally saw that movie in Iron Man 2.
Yeah.
We
Yeah. Yeah.
literally saw somebody, weaponizing tech and using it, for his own means. That literally was the first thing. And I don't know whether it's done deliberately. I don't know whether it's just kind of, Iron Man taking on human characters and he dealt
Mm.
with an alien in Avengers and couldn't deal with it. I don't know. It kind of took away the villain aspect for me.
Yeah. It was far. Yeah. It just didn't make sense to do that, and really, yeah, I really struggled with. It made the film a lot longer. If you didn't have any of those like if you got rid of all the Richard scenes and just had the Mandarin, right? It would be one hell of a film because it would be much shorter, to the
Mm-hmm.
point, Great villain, which like I said, it obviously not what Ben Kingsley, as you rightly pointed out. I think if you'd have had another actor, it would have been very on the nose about terrorism and what was going on in the world.
Yeah.
But actually, you could have got a message out of that, or something you could have done if it was a completely different film. So yeah, I've did feel, and even the scene where we find out he's an actor and Ben Kingsley's introduced. Well, he's not introduced, but yeah, the character of Slapper, whatever his name is. What's his name? You said it. You said it correctly about 4 minutes ago.
What the? Who?
The Mandarin. The Mandarin's real name.
Kevin Slattery, mate.
Slattery, not Slappery. Slattery, that's it.
What? Slappery.
Yeah. Slattery. And yeah, I think his whole introduction, I don't know, it's just a bit lazy. It felt quite late, and also like he had when they introduce him, he's got like these ladies with like barely any clothes on and all that stuff, and it kind of feel. I tell you what, Iron Man as a trilogy feels like it didn't really progress. I think
no. I wonder whether it would have been more successful if it threaded through more of what happened after the Avengers, going through that kind of PTSD, but then also having an alien threat still hanging in the balance, something else that lingered from the attacks on New York, because those stories of what happens after New York are told in Agent Carter, it's told in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., it's told even in the first Spider-Man movie with Tom Holland, right? So like you couldn't, there are ways that you really actually could have explained that, and obviously they were choosing wisely with what they wanted to do with that, but I think there was another way of telling a story for the third Iron Man, and it wasn't this, because it was basically carbon copy of the second one, really.
And let's be honest, but like they mucked up in film one getting rid of Obadiah. If the character of Obadiah had have survived Iron Man 1,
if he came back for the third one,
we would have had. Well, he should have been in all three. He should have been the enemy in all three, because you absolutely could have made that an off and on again, villain for 3 films, and that would have been your. And then by the third film, we find out, that he's in cahoots with the Chitauri, aka Thanos. The more I talk about it, the more devastated I am about the film.
You genuinely sound a little bit hurt by it, buddy.
I know. I just can't. I think I'm more disappointed because I remember seeing this when I was younger and being like really happy, like obsessed by it. But now we've looked at it. I think because now we're watching all of the films, I'm comparing it to the other films, and you're like, actually, this is not stacked up as a good Marvel film at all.
Do you know what it did? At the point of when it came out in the first week of box sales, I think it's box office sales. I think it was the 6th largest grossing movie of all time at that point, right? So it clearly did its job in terms of making money. I wonder whether it was just a cash grab to help fund phase 2 and phase 3. But yeah, there were just all kinds of issues. But just going back to the plot, so we see Killian Aldrich and the Mandarin are working together. Okay, so he's kind of employed this actor to be portrayed as this terrorist threat to deflect kind of the attention off of Killian Aldrich, so we can weaponize this this science, this tech, and he's then weaponizing soldier veterans to then be used against the cause that haven't been given the right healthcare. That again, it goes into a very political kind of lens through this, through the terrorism, through the poor treatment of the soldiers that were in Afghanistan, of that kind of generation, coming back to home and not getting the right treatment and not getting the right pay that they deserved. So they get all those kind of those soldiers, they weaponize them, they give them this tech, then they kind of radiate almost kind of like this weird kind of 3,000 degrees radiation, and then they weaponize them, and then they basically there was a terrorist attack that happened at the Chinese theater where Happy was as well, and who got caught up in the middle of that, and that's kind of what really gave Tony Stark the impetus to kind of go, right, no, this is personal now, it's me and the Mandarin. Up until that moment, really, when Tony Stark does that kind of like press talk with all the reporters around him, I was like, okay, this is it. This is when it's going to get juicy. This is when it's going to get really good. It's going to. He's an angry man. He's going to get his revenge. It's going to be really. It will be like Tom Holland kicking the crap out of Green Goblin. That bit like that.
So we get. Yeah, exactly. And you get the press conference. He gives his address out in front of all the media, and you're like, oh god, it's about to get really spicy up in here.
But it gets threaded though, doesn't it? It gets threaded right and paced right, because then what happens next is then the terrorists they obviously go to his address and they destroy the Malibu apartment, and the Jarvis helps Iron Man out from, he was about to drown with the Malibu apartment above him, being submerged, and then he's alone in the middle of nowhere, in the snow. He's kind of he's been travelled in it. Jarvis is basically travelled him as far away as possible, and now he's stuck with nothing but a broken Iron Man suit. And I was like, oh my god, this is, if I'm thinking kind of like, obviously I knew what was going to happen, but like as a story lens, that really works. You're like, okay, so we're winding this out. All we need to see next is Mandarin do more bad stuff, to make it more personal, to get pots, to do all that kind of thing, I'm forgetting about killing Aldridge. But like you say, Forrest, Iron Man, I need to talk about the Harley moment by itself, but like Iron Man does go to the Mandarin's apartment, finds him to beat Kevin Slattery. Then it just, from that moment, I was out.
Yeah.
That was it. I was like, oh, I'm done. No. There's no real villain now. That story's now not going to work. And the main antagonist is Killian Aldridge in this movie. Yeah. But going back to kind of the investigation part where Iron Man's trying to find the veteran's wife, I think, or mother, I think, to talk about in the bar. Before then, Tony Stark comes into contact with a character called Harley, a little boy, who I think he is my favourite secondary character in this movie. He's so good.
It turns all like Home Alone-y, doesn't it? Really. That's the best way I can describe it. Is a still kid. He might,
I've put down Uncle Buck. Have you seen Uncle Buck?
Uncle Buck, no.
Uncle Buck's really good 80s movie, but it's like you say, it's got that kind of that charm to it, and he's really funny. And they have this kind of, it's almost like Tom Holland. It's almost like Peter Parker and Tony Stark's relationship when it starts. But like, he's a clever boy. He knows what he's talking about. He helps Iron Man get his back on his feet. And then it's left there in that nice little moment. It's kind of like 5-10 minutes of screen time with them, but maybe not even that,
I wonder, now you mentioned it, in the comics, I'd like our hardcore fans to answer this. So number one, is Harley in the comics? Does the kid ever appear? Number two, if so, coming from what you've just said about Peter Parker, is there a longer thread where Harley and Iron Man's relationship causes Tony Stark to have a very similar relationship with Peter Parker? Because if you think about it, Tony Stark as an individual, there is no reason for him to get on with Peter Parker. Right?
No.
Like, he's not. We don't know Tony to be in, like, get on with young people. We don't know for Tony Stark certainly not being a father figure. He didn't get on with Captain America, who you could argue is quite similar. So there's no reason at all, really. So it would be really lovely if actually it was written in, because of his relationship with Harley.
He is now a character in comics, and I don't fact check me on this, but like I think it's as an influence of the movie. So he did the movie. Harley was introduced in Iron Man 3 and then became a comic.
But in the comics, so if he's only been introduced post film, then that would mean that in the comics he would have already met Peter Parker. So it won't be a direct... Yeah. But kind of... Did you know what I mean, though? Or am I talking about... But it kind of... 100%. Because to me, it never really... Peter Parker and Tony Stark... It doesn't make any sense for them not to get on. But, likewise, for them to get on as much as they do, and for Tony to be quite a father figure, it never quite makes sense with the character of Tony, who's so self-indulgent. But then again, maybe once we get to Spider-Man Homecoming,
we'll find out a little bit more.
I can find out. I can have another look at that.
But yeah, so we, Trevor Slattery is revealed, and then we kind of go all guns blazing towards Killian Aldridge. Yes, so we kind of move on in the plot a little bit with Killian Aldridge, then getting up to no good. Again, weaponized. We've got these kind of two kind of lackeys, effectively. So we've got a female lackey and a male lackey. The female lackey has a terrible wig on, and the male lackey looks like Wentworth Miller. I don't know if you know the actor Wentworth Miller from Prison Break, Forrest, but
yes.
Yeah, literally identical to him. And they're the kind of like, it's a weird like Terminator kind of vibe, where they're just trying to take out Iron Man a few times, and we have this kind of plane scene, don't we?
Yes. Yeah.
So in the plane scene, we've got the government. Sort of they're taking they interfere, don't they, with the government's cargo, and then they literally take out two. I think there's two planes, isn't there? Is it just one?
Just one, because the second one is when we go to Air Force during a Mandarin video.
That's right.
But the second one, and we're like, lots of people die, don't they? And the plane gets ripped to shreds. I thought that was quite an impressive scene and quite a dark scene.
It is quite dark
for a superhero film. I was like,
a bit close, isn't it? What I don't understand though, and what I don't buy it, is the 13 people that fall out of that plane. And then they have to kind of like barrel them together, as Iron Man says. Like, trying. It's a weird.
Yeah, again, why do we need to watch the whole thing unfold? Like, this is yet again another reason it's a 2.5 hour film. Just wrap it up, mate. I got the idea at number 3. I don't need to see all 13 being picked up. And then...
Also, if you're descending at that rate, you're going to pass out. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? You'll be passed out by the time you get to a certain...
certainly not going to have the strength to hold someone's grab someone's hand, or
I just don't know what that moment was meant to represent or why it was needed. I mean, fine, but like it happened. You got that moment, but like, mate, we haven't even mentioned Rhodes yet. No. There's a whole side plot with Rhodes now becoming the Iron Patriot, not War Machine, and he's been branded differently, and he's being used during this to sort of, as from a government's perspective, to take down Killian Aldridge and the terrorist threat of the Mandarin.
But this is what we're talking about. Too many threads in this film. I know. Like, that was such a minute point, because there was about 20 other threads in the film at the same time. It's bizarre. I don't know why they needed to cram so much in, but then again, not cram a lot in. It's like a lot was crammed in, but none of it of actual substance.
Literally.
But
they get hold of his Iron Patriot suit, don't they? And they weaponize that and they use it against him, particularly in the plane scene as well. But so then after that, it kind of just threads through kind of all the way straight to the end. I mean, Trevor Flattery kind of helps them out, gives them a little bit of information through a little bit of interrogation through Rhodes being there as well. But we kind of get to this kind of main kind of like cargo hangar scene, don't we?
Mm.
Now, again, I just didn't like how it was kind of moving. No, I can't. I've skipped forward. There's another bit where Tony Stark gets captured, doesn't he? He gets captured.
Tony Stark does get captured.
God, geez, I'm flying through. Sorry.
But like I say, it's not a big moment because it's yet another withdrawn. Oh, okay, Tony's going to stay there, but he's absolutely going to get out of the situation. Oh, we have to see in real time his suit come to him. Harley has to open, a shed because it's blocked. The mark is blocked from coming and arriving, and it's just all ultra long scenes. Mm-hmm. Why on earth we need? But yes, he gets captured.
Potts is also captured as well at the same time. They're weaponizing her. They're putting this kind of this I don't want radiation juice in her. It's called. Is it called Extremis? I don't know if it's actually.
Yes.
I don't know if that's what that is, isn't it?
Extremis. Yeah.
So they're putting the Extremis in her, and she effectively becomes a superhero for a moment, doesn't she? At the end.
Yeah.
But they So Tony Stark kind of has an altercation with Aldrich. Rhodes gets him out.
Yes.
Rhodes gets him out. And then it goes to kind of the final act of the movie. Now, like what we've been saying, from that point, we then don't hear anything about the Mandarin. That the moment, and this is why I get really annoyed about the whole Trevor Slattery situation, is that once Trevor Slattery is revealed and he gives the information that he is, he's then turned into the authorities, and then that's the last thing you see of him until a little cut at the end. Then all of a sudden that hype, that build up around this really big threat. Okay, yes, in Avengers we had alien level, right? That is humanitarian kind of like big kind of like world ending kind of level stuff there that needs the Avengers. That's the stakes that you need, right? Terrorism threat, I would say that's the next thing underneath it that kind of would impact loads and loads of people, it have a huge impact on the world and civilization, humanitarian issues as well, right? Great, go with that because that's the next big thing. But they didn't. They kind of dropped that because it was all a hoax.
Yeah,
and they just went with this kind of extremist thing, and I just didn't. The relationship, the fact that Killian Aldrich was driven by this kind of revenge, just because 13 years ago he said, "Nah, I'm good, mate. I don't want to partner with you on this project."
Yeah.
And that's it. That's literally it. Being turned down once by Tony Stark to then 13 years later to go, okay, yeah, no, I'm going to take my revenge on him now.
Yeah.
And go that far.
It's very strange. It's very strange. It's yes. I think that would be my two major plot words for it. Just very strange. We end up on the cargo on the ship. For what I would say arguably is a great little action scene. Well, a little action scene.
There's good moments. Yeah, there's good moments with all the Ironman suits and stuff. Yeah.
Very long scene yet again. All of these scenes are just incredibly drawn out.
Yeah.
But very good. I really like when Mark 42 comes. Tony Stark refers to it as the prodigal son, and then it destroys itself. So he gets really excited about Mark 42. But all of the different marks turning up, and because that's another bit that makes me laugh. So when we first get a view of the ship, right, and I think him and Rhodes are together, and they're like sheltering away from all of these different agents. And we get a first look, and there's probably about no more than 10, 20 different agents on that ship, right? Yeah, we must get nearly more than 40 different suits turn up, and apparently suddenly they're busy for about 20 minutes. So I'm like, we've seen no more than 20 agents, and now there's 40 suits on the ship, and they've been busy for the last 20 minutes. They can't possibly help Tony out or kill Aldrich because they're dealing with apparently about 500 different agents on the ship. Where are all these people coming from for all of these suits? Very weird.
It's so true. That's so true. But we get this kind of big kind of fight, don't we, with Killian Aldrich and Iron Man. The iron suits are there. There's a really lovely moment, just at the moment where Iron Man kind of like he ducks back, and then he kind of like throws the Iron Man suit, one of the marks, onto Killian Aldrich, so that he kind of implodes within the suit, which I think is pretty cool. And then he dives off, and then through Tony Stark's descent, an Iron Man suit, he then dives into himself as well. I just thought that was a really cool moment. I think it was really cool to see him do that. And that doesn't finish off Aldrich, which I thought was quite cool. I thought it was quite nice to go, okay, that wasn't the end of that. That's cool. And he peers through the fire. But then Pepper Potts turns up and whoops ass. Like, she comes in and absolutely decks him, and basically saves Tony Stark, because Tony was down on everything. He couldn't, there wasn't really much for him to do. His suit wasn't working. All of the kind of stuff that he's obsessing over since, to get his mind off New York, doesn't really work with these Mark suits. But Potts just absolutely takes it on. She's now got this kind of superhero kind of vibe to her. She does the classic Iron Man stance and looks up, and I really didn't like it.
Yeah, and because what I also love is after that it takes all but 5 minutes to remove the extremis from Pepper. So Pepper instantly fixed,
completely
right?
cute. Yeah,
completely. And then I'm thinking, well, hang on a minute. So in the last hour of the film, why was there not a focus on removing extremis from people rather than worrying about Aldrich?
I just didn't like the fact that she was using this extremis power against him. All right, and I know that's probably the whole point, but I would have preferred her putting back on an Iron Man suit and kicking him that way and getting rid of him that way. It's just that there's this kind of like the fact she's barely wearing anything, and Tony Stark makes that comment as well. I'm like, I don't know what the point of that is, and I don't think it's needed. I think it would have worked better for her character to thread through this kind of tease moment of going, oh my God, she could be a female Iron Man. She could be, she could take on that Iron Heart kind of role, maybe. But and that was always teased, and obviously it threads through to later movies, but that could have been another opportunity to go, or maybe she had her own suit. Wouldn't it have been awesome if Tony Stark just went, oh my God, and he calls in her own suit, and she's wearing her suit, and she absolutely decks him like that. That would have been cool. But instead, we just got I don't know, mate. This whole movie, I'm now realising, was really problematic.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, but he does do. So after all of this, culminates into Tony Stark enacting the clean slate protocol, which is where we see Jarvis exploding all of the different marks, all of the different armor that Tony Stark has spent forever and a day making, which yet again is not really symbolic of anything. Bearing in mind we see Tony Stark in many films after this in many an outfit. So I'm not really quite sure what the clean slate is. It would have been far more better to do that when he last ever appears in the MCU, and him to go right, okay, this is the end now, I'm going to move on, rather than here's clean slate. Oh, I'll be back. Film even finishes, Iron Man will be back. Well, okay. And as well, what was
all that money, he just blew up. It must have cost him at least a couple of million each suit, right? So that's one reckless thing that Tony Stark feels like he's okay to do. All right, fair enough. Taxpayers' money, mate. Jesus, I don't know. Who knows?
Honestly, mate, cost of living crisis.
I've got a theory though, mate. I've got a theory about this whole clean slate protocol. Now, would you like to hear it?
I would love to hear that.
Okay, so picture this. So we have the clean slate protocol. All of his suits are blown up, bar one. One suit is instructed to not self-destruct, but to fly all the way over to where the little Harley is living, right? And I like the idea of, along with the fact that Stark does kit him up at the end of the movie, we see his kind of shed be turned into kind of like an awesome laboratory, which is quite exciting. It's quite, you go, oh, what's going to happen there? But I would like to see maybe around the corner is an Iron Man suit that he's left him, and he could then use that later on to become an Iron Man of some sort. I don't know. I just teasing that
little baby Iron Man,
little baby Iron Man,
Iron Boy.
I wonder whether there's legs in and another potential mini series with Harley, and we see this relationship between Harley and Iron Man, between Iron Man 3 and 2 Endgame, to kind of, because he must be kind of keeping tabs with him the same way that he kept tabs with Peter Parker. I don't think that kind of connection. They said we're connected, right? That's a line in the movie. We're connected. They must have kept that through. They must have.
I like it, but I want to push it even more and go, right? Forget about Peter Parker now. Let's get Miles Morales in. Oh. And then let's have Miles and Harley, mate.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Because it's like brand new generation. Brand new generation. Tom Holland is, he's young, but he's still going up with the cool kids of, Captain America, Iron Man. So let's bring the new generation in. Let's have a bit of Miles, who I've been desperately waiting for in Marvel films to show up, Mr. Miles. But yes.
Yeah. I think, and so the only time we see Harley back is at the end of Endgame, which is part of that shot. But and that it's really, he was the character that everybody goes, oh my God, it's who is that guy? But it is Harley. It's definitely Harley. It's the same actor that's in it. But I think they've got a story to tell between the time of him being the young boy that he was when he met Tony Stark to being the guy that he was when he saw Tony Stark at his funeral. I wonder if there's legs in that. But there we see as well. So Potts gets healed. Tony Stark decides to have a literal clean slate and get the shrapnel out of his heart, so he doesn't need to have that thing in his chest anymore, which he successfully does. But why did he have to wait till that moment?
Who knows, mate? Who knows? Because up to that point, it was going so well when it was killing him off. So,
yeah. It's the second movie, exactly.
Our reactors were really positive for him, so why on earth not wait that long?
Strange choice. You would have done that first thing, right? Oh, I've got a bit of shrapnel in me. Yeah, I should probably take that out.
Yeah.
Should probably get out.
Honestly, it was like Marvel went, oh, right, got a kickstart, second phase. Okay, guys. All right, Phil, what's your fantasy? Iron Man did well. Very true, Phil. Very true. Let's make an Iron Man 3. Ideas. Ideas for an Iron Man film. Oh, ideas. Oh, we like Justin Hammer. He was good. Yeah, maybe we could have someone else who owns a. Oh, yeah. What about Mandarin? Quality character from the comic. Nice. Let's fuck him about by not actually having a Mandarin like that. Phil, great idea.
I wonder whether the writers of this movie got sacked. I think I feel like we've really slated the movie. We went in a deep, dark dive into kind of really hanging on the gripes a little bit. Now, I just want to say there were some good moments, but the problem is that I thought that Iron Man 3 was far too much like Iron Man 2. And because of the Avengers movie, the stakes of the MCU and the characters that are now in it were risen dramatically because of an alien threat and because of the aftermath of what New York happened. I think that if we were to have had a third Iron Man movie where we would have seen the aftermath of the New York situation happening and threading through a little bit more, that would have been better. And I don't know whether that's because Iron Man 3 was written before when the Avengers was written and there was a timing thing and they were wondering when they were going to put this out, and I don't know, but that's what I thought what was dramatically missing. Yeah.
There's definitely been, I think, with recent phases, a much longer planning time.
Yeah.
So I don't think we'll ever have this again, I think, because Marvel Studios are really planning ahead. So I don't think hopefully we're never going to quite have a film like this, which feels quite so independent, even though there are like 3 mentions of New York and his anxiety attacks. Still feels very, very independent, which doesn't really work, to be quite honest.
Exactly.
Now, yes.
Would you like me to read some fan fiction?
Yes, I would. Shall we? Let's just talk very quickly first about. So, and the movie finishes. He says, "I am Iron Man." Brilliant. In case we missed that in the last 3 films. And then Tony was sharing all of these thoughts with Bruce Banner. So one of my favourite end credit scenes I quite like with this film is that Bruce Banner, Tony Stark is treating Bruce Banner as a doctor in the sense that he's almost a therapist. And Bruce Banner has to say, look, I'm not that kind of doctor. Bruce Banner's been asleep during all of this. It gives a reason for Tony to be narrating the film. I quite liked it. I found it mildly humorous. Bruce isn't a therapist and hasn't been listening. What were your thoughts?
What, the end credits?
Yeah.
Mate, it was just a conversation, wasn't it? It was like Bruce. What was quite funny is that Mark Ruffalo was clearly just told just to come to the studio very quickly, just do this end credit scene. Like he wasn't. I don't even think he was in character.
No,
I can't really tell. But it was. I honestly didn't know there was an end credit sequence until I was like, I checked to see if there was, and there was. That was the first time I saw that.
Really?
That doesn't serve anything, doesn't do anything. I don't even think Disney Plus acknowledge it as an end credit sequence because usually you can skip it, but you couldn't in this one.
This just ended. It just tried to end it already. It was almost like Disney went, you've had your film, 2.5 hour long film.
Yeah, we get it. We're not gonna. Yeah, you can just go.
We'll bow you out now.
Yeah. Who's in? He's in credits. Just Mark Ruffalo. Be Mark Ruffalo. Oh, okay. Yeah, it doesn't serve anything. You can just go. It's fine. We'll see you in the next one. It kind of literally what that was, wasn't it?
Yeah, I liked it. It did give a reason for the narration, so at least it tied in with the film. But there was no setup for other films. There was no proper debrief from the events of Avengers. All very standalone. Which is fine if it was a good film. Sadly, by the sound of us too, didn't quite go down as well as others. Right, hit me with a fan fiction. Okay,
it's just a really, really tiny little bit. But now I don't know if I really should, but I'm gonna anyway. Now this is a bit of fan fiction that I found from somebody written by Lafayettes. It's entitled Tony Stark and Bagel.
And Bagel. Okay.
And Bagel.
Interesting. Yeah.
You ready?
Yes.
God, it was so tempting, delicious, steamy, delicately soft. As soon as the bagel popped out of the toaster, the speed of Pietro and about either half, Tony grabbed it and pressed both halves together. Oh, he said, because it was so clearly too hot for his bare hands to hold. He set it down on the plate, and he eyed at it slowly. He looked it up and down, and licked his lips. He needed alone time with this beautiful bagel. After locking himself inside of his room, Tony realised that the bagel had cooled down. He took it off the plate, lifted it up, and asked if it would like to kiss him. The bagel nodded and whispered, "Yes, Tony Stark, that's all I've ever wanted." It was then that Tony kissed its middle tenderly, caressing its curves. He loved this bagel. He loved it with his entire heart and soul, and he wanted to marry it. Maybe take it to Disney for their honeymoon, see all the fake Avengers and all that good shit. Romance at its finest. Say goodbye. 1980s. That's it. Thank you, Lafayettes, for that bit of fan fiction. I had to dig for that. I had to really dig for that.
I think whoever wrote it had to fucking dig for that. I don't know where the bloody hell.
What was going through that guy's or person or whoever, what that was going through their mind, I have no idea. I'm a bit flabbergasted, I'll be honest. I started reading, I kept going on, and I was like, oh, okay, it carries on. Mate, it carries on. It goes into more. He does stuff to this bagel I didn't think you could ever do to a bagel. So,
oh my God.
Wow.
I'll tell you what, Matt, can we provide the link when we upload this podcast, please? I would like the writer to listen to your very, very descriptive read.
It's not long, but it's long enough.
Oh, that is gorgeous. It's exactly what he said to the bagel. That is... I've got to say, if the writer's listening, the use of the word shit came out of nowhere. I mean, I was really fundamentally in the moment, and then you bunged a bit of swearing in there.
Yeah.
Obviously, me and Matt never swear, so it
no.
would be
well, I'll preface this with what happens at the end. So he does say, "No, I can't tell you what happened next. It's too R-rated." And if he can't tell, the stars. So he starred out a lot of what happened at the top. So I literally can't say what's happened at the top here, but he says he was pushing for a solid PG-13. That's what he says.
On what? Is this in the story, or is
it's like a really small little story? But he describes what happens next. I'm genuinely not reading that.
Oh, Matt, come on, mate.
I can't, brother. I can't bring myself to it. But if you, I mean, it's all starred out anyway. To be honest, it's all starred out. But
what a way to finish this podcast.
Okay, I'll say it. But I'll bleep. I'll say it, but I'll bleep.
Say it, and then we'll end.
This is going to be.
This is how we're ending this entire.
We're not going to get what's going to. I don't even know what he's saying, but this is how it goes. Okay, so yeah, romance at its finest. Say goodbye, 1980s. Tony beep the bagel and beep the beep and beep beep and beep to get beep. The bagel said, "Oh, Tony, beep 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 beep." The beep was beep beep beep. Oh, you're the god of beep. Trust Fund responded, beep beep bagel beep. There you go. You made me do it.
Don't Be a Hero podcast. The next episode's Thor, Dark World. We'll see you. We'll see you next time.
I need a shower. Bye.